Okay. You know what I'm doing right now?
Yeah.
Okay, take it out. All right. Didn't know if you saw that. I wasn't just sticking my finger in my ear. Okay. I will get you a factor sheet, and actually once we go through this, I will make a couple more copies. That way, I'm going to have them stay in my class, but you can grab one of these. What's that? If you have one from before, the factor pair, some of you do, you can take it out. All right, so
Definitely.
three more left. The first part was just trying to guide you through the box method of factoring. The only time you would need to use the box is if you have a leading coefficient other than 1. You can still use it for all others, but it's not necessary because you can kind of cut to the second step. So, did you do this? Good. If you didn't, do it now. Find the product of A and C. That's this and this. Can you do that for me a second? Or if you did it already, what did you get?
-54.
-54.
I'm so smart.
You don't have to list all the factor pairs if you have your factor sheet. What we're looking for are factors that multiply to be -54 and add up to be 25x. Yes, what did you get? Good. 27 times a -2. In the boxes then, what we were supposed to do is carry that on down here. You're going to put the 27, but because they have to add up to be 25x, we need to put an x behind them. You're going to put the 27x and the -2x in those white boxes. Does it matter where you put them? No. You could put the 27 up here and the -2 down there.
Doesn't matter what's negative.
It does, because 27 plus a -2 adds up to 25. If it was -27 and +2, that would be if this was a -25. Okay? Next, if you don't want to keep copying it down, that's fine, but I'm not changing anything here. Find the GCF of each row and column. Okay, so I'm going to start with rows. Looking at this bottom row, what's the GCF of 27x and -18? There's no x behind it because these don't both have x's. Let's look at this top row. They do not have a number that besides 1 that goes in. You could put 1, but they do both have an x. So you could write x or 1x. The first factor then is this one, x plus 9. Now we're going to do the columns. So we're going to go up this way. 3x and 27x. 3x. If the box that's closest to the outside is negative, that's the only time we make it negative. So then 2x and 18, but I have to pull that negative out, be -2. So my other factor is 3x minus 2. So you may use the box every time, but when you have leading coefficients that are just 1, you could, because -42 times 1 is -42, you could just go right to listing the factors of -42 that add up to 1. You can kind of skip the box. Anybody know that? What's the factors of -42?
6 and 7.
Okay, tell me which one's positive and which one's negative. but you're right.
-7.
Negative 6 times 7, because negative 6 plus 7 is 1. So then you could go right to writing it like this. X minus 6, x plus 7. So leading coefficient is 1. I'm going to skip the box because I can go right to the factor part. Factors of negative 48 that add up to negative 8. Well, 6 and 8 are factors. But when I did like negative 6 plus 8, they don't add up to negative 8. We want to pick the ones that add up to negative. 24 and 2 are also factors, but they don't add up to negative 8.
Well,
Negative 12 and 4? I'm sorry. Yeah, negative 12 and 4 multiply to be negative 20, negative 48, add up to be negative 8.
Wouldn't it be -4?
Okay, negative 12 plus negative 4 is negative 16. So x minus 12, x plus 4. That's what you should have gotten there. Okay. Multiplies to be 24, adds up to negative 11. What do you think?
-3, +8.
Change the sign.
What?
You-
-8, +3.
Negative 8, negative 3.
Oh,
Okay, because those two add up to negative 11, and isn't a negative times a negative a positive? And at first, on the last one, you might think you need to use a box. They have to multiply to be 24, add up to be negative 11. You might think you need to do a box here, but you can actually take something out of these first. 6. So you can't take an x squared out because there's not one there. I'm going to take the 6 out. Let's divide everything by 6. And we have x squared minus 3x minus 4. Can you think of anything that multiplies to be a negative 4 and adds up to be a negative 3? How about a negative 4 and a positive 1? Does that work?
yeah.
So we're always adding like to the middle number?
When there's just a coefficient. Now here's the deal. Do you see the box method that I did up here? If you want to use that every time, that will work for these as well. But if you have a leading coefficient, by leading coefficient I mean a beginning number,